Well, hello everyone and welcome back to the R Factor 2 Formula Challenge Series here on R Factor 2. Of course, this is the stepping stone to the highest level of open wheel racing on the platform, that being Formula Pro. This time for round 2, we head to the legendary Temple of Speed. And of course, take you through all of the action here at Monza. It's myself, Liz McLean, it's Justin Sutton alongside.
Happy to be here, thrilled to be back, thrilled to be at Monza in particular, which provided some incredible racing last time out at Formula Pro last week. So looking forward to more of the same today.
Indeed. Of course, whilst last time we had a bit of an exhibition race in the Ardennes, the week following it on the Tuesday, they did actually run through a race sort of offline, away from all of us, to get away from the technical issues, obviously, because they don't want us to talk about any of their driving. We won't talk about it too much, but don't worry. Jordi Veers, though, took the victory in that, and of course was one of our competitors before doing the GT Challenge Series and did take part in Formula Pro in 2021. An incredible driver to take that first victory of the season.
Yeah, Cedric Callas joining him on the podium, as did Risto Capit. Some really well-known high-level drivers. No surprise to see them up in the podium positions.
Yeah, obviously you can see behind as well, Rory McDuff and Christian Mikel, the two driving for Cetres Nita Velix in 4th and 5th. Luca Dimelio, another one of the race winners from GT Pro back in Season 3 and has competed at the top level of that in 6th position. Stepkowski, Mattia Krupi, the teammate of Jordi Veers, got another teammate in the form of Jelle Binsberg in this round. Martin Hemmingson in 9th, Eros Masciuli, Philip Dreiss and Mirko Mancini. Eros Masciuli and Mancini obviously driving for Musto GD Esports, trying to get them back into Formula Pro. And this is the pathway, isn't it? This is how they get into Formula Pro. This is the only way they can do so, is by getting into the top load of this at the end of the championship.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, this is the only way for them to get in. This is where they need to prove themselves. This is where they fight their way into Formula Pro, which, as you say, is the top single-seater series in all of R Factor 2, and one of the top esports in all of the world, with one of the best driver lineups that I've personally ever seen. And I've been watching a lot of sim racing esports in my years.
Indeed, and the thing is, with the beauty of the Challenge Series, we'll have it obviously with GT Challenge as well. We've seen it over the last couple of seasons, as with Formula Challenge back in 2021, and it is now that you yourself, sat at home, can come and take part as well. It's one of those beautiful things about it, is that for each round there is a pre-qualifier, which is on R Factor 2. So you go onto Steam, you download yourself R Factor 2, you get onto the platform, and you think, right, let's go through the competition system and let's go and take part, set your times, and then the top 20 or so get themselves pushed through into the grid. They get invited into Split 1. But if you don't get into Split 1, you know, it's kind of one of those things that we should remind everyone. It's not just Split 1 they're racing for. There are other Split 2, Split 3, Split 4, as many as is required, that will go racing on the Monday evening alongside the Split 1, which is broadcasted.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're looking at this car and thinking, that looks like a lot of fun, I would love to have a go with that, particularly at one special track. You know, if you like one on the calendar more than the rest, sure. But yeah, I mean, that's your chance, you know, to get in with the competition system and have a really good race. Again, even if you don't make it into the top split, you're guaranteed to have some fun, to get out there and have some competition against some very similar skilled drivers.
And they are very, very skilled indeed. But let's look at how the R Factor 2 Formula Challenge Series is about. The R Factor 2 Formula Challenge Series of 2022 features some of the greatest drivers across the platform, all racing for their chance to move through into Formula Pro. It's 6 rounds of entertaining racing, starting at Spa before we head to the legendary Temple of Speed on the 30th of May, then the Daytona road course before a bit of a break between Donington Park, then the Circuit d'Azur, and then, of course, finishing out the season at the brand new Laguna Seca on R Factor 2. All racing promotion at the end of the season, where they'll battle it out with the bottom 2 teams from Formula Pro. Every round will feature not only a 15-minute qualifying session to set the grid, but also a 45-minute race with no mandatory pit stops. They can pick whatever strategy they want. Dynamic weather, track rubber, and full damage simulation is also in effect. Cars enter Parc Fermé after qualifying, and they can only make limited adjustments to the front wing angle as well as various other things. And drivers will all have 45 seconds of push to pass, which adds 55 brake horsepower. Race control will also monitor the action and provide any penalties that is required, which this is Formula Challenge, let's not forget. So we do expect race control to sometimes step in a bit.
Yeah, no doubt about it, especially at Monza. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for things to go wrong at a fast track such as Monza. Pretty heavy braking zones as well at the chicanes, less so at Ascari in the final corner and the Lesmos and that sort of thing. But yeah, lots of heavy braking. It'll be very interesting. So we've already gotten sort of a sneak preview. If you tuned in last week for the Formula Pro Series race, you would have gotten a little sneak preview of sort of what we can expect this week from the Formula Challenge cars. With there being no DRS, with the push to pass, all that kind of stuff, we didn't really know how things were going to go, but we had an incredible race last time out for Formula Pro, and I'm expecting very similar sort of levels of racing here in Formula Challenge.
It's kind of one of those things. The push to pass, there is no DRS. It's kind of one of those things. We'll get to the car in a moment. Don't worry. But there is no DRS. It is just the push to pass, and it's only adds between 55 and 60 brake horsepower. It's not like it's an incredible addition to the car. But in Formula Challenge, the engines are also less powerful. Just 600 brake horsepower in these. In Formula Pro, it is 800. So the percentage addition is a higher ratio with that push to pass, and that kind of makes a bit more of a change, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's about 10% power increase when you hit that push to pass button in the Formula Challenge cars, but it's not 10%. It's a little over 5% in the Formula Pro cars. Same amount of power added, but again, different base levels. And certainly you're going to be feeling that more out of the low speed corner. So coming out of the first chicane, the second chicane, if you enable the push to pass coming out of those, you're certainly going to feel that at the rear end of the car. When you're already going, you know, a few hundred kph at the end of the straight, the push to pass will have a diminishing effect, surely, because, of course, they do have the same downforce levels as the Formula Pro cars, these Formula Challenge cars.
I think it's about time we take a look at the car as we did back in Spa.
We should.
Here we are then with the Formula Challenge car for 2022. Very, very similar indeed to the Formula Pro car, only this one has 600 brake horsepower coming out of the V10, revving all the way up to 18,000 revs per minute. Push to pass, in effect, they've got 45 seconds of it in Formula Challenge, which will add an extra 55 brake horsepower, all the way up to 190 mile an hour top speed. Just 600 kilograms, same weight as it is in Formula Pro. Absolutely no DRS, so no flap on the rear wing, just the push to pass to aid in assistance. Ground effect to keep them stuck to the road. It allows them to travel nice and close to the car ahead thanks to the reduced dirty air, and custom setups allow the drivers to make the car as they see fit. Is a brilliant car to go racing in, and shift protection to stop them from blowing that lovely sound of the V10 engine. All 7 gears will be in use around here at Monza, of course one of the highest top speeds we'll see all season. 4 tyre compounds, wet and 3 dry, with updated tyre degradation on each of those to keep the drivers on their toes throughout the entirety of the 45-minute race. It's a good little car to drive around. Certainly had a go in it recently. It's a bit of a tricky beast though, even with the 600 brake horsepower.
I imagine as well that it's a great car for learning Formula Pro. It seems like a great stepping stone. It's got all the same toys, bells and whistles and everything like that. It's just making slightly less horsepower. So it does a great job, I would imagine, of preparing the drivers for the challenge that comes next with 800 horsepower.
I mean, speaking of the tyre degradation, speaking of Monza, of course, we saw how the Monza race played out in the Formula Pro. And one of the hardest things about Monza when it comes to tyre degradation is actually keeping the rear tyres in track. Typically, we see it as being more so the front wheels. But the front tyres, keeping them in check, obviously, as you're turning through the corners, the likes of Eau Rouge and Raidillon. Here, though, it's all about those traction zones. 200 less brake horsepower means you should theoretically be able to keep the tyres within their operating window a little bit easier, meaning we might see quite a few no stops on the soft tyre.
Yeah, certainly possible. Slightly shorter race as well too, which could come into play a factor as well. So yeah, we're definitely going to see some slight variations from what we saw at Formula Pro. It's not exactly like for like. There's small differences from one to the other. So we are going to see some slight differences. And we did see, though, in the Formula Pro side of things, that it can be quite difficult, and it is quite rear limited, as you pointed out. Getting that power down coming out of the chicanes can be tricky as you get further and further into the race. But certainly the drivers are going to be, certainly I would imagine, thinking about that sort of thing, preparing for that sort of thing. It'll be very interesting to see if anybody is able to do the no stop, just go to the end, and whether or not that's successful.
Yeah, obviously they'll be starting on a heavier car as well. Before we get into the race, though, obviously we've got qualifying to deal with. And before we get into qualifying, we have to take a look at the circuit we're racing at. And of course, it's the legendary Temple of Speed. A brilliant racetrack, one that is heralded in the world of motorsport as being one of the very best. Just shy of 5.8 kilometres around the 11 turns. You can see 4 left, 7 right. But when you give them numbers, you kind of don't really think about the character of them. The Rettifilio, the Rogia, the 2 Lesmos, Ascari, and then, of course, the final corner, the Parabolica. They call it Alboreto now, but I think we all will return to it being the Parabolica. It's such a significant name. It's one that we all really remember. And all of these corners, and this is the beautiful thing about Monza, every single one is a great overtaking opportunity.
Yeah, no shortage of overtaking locations at Monza. If you think you're faster than the car ahead, then you know, the world is your oyster. Just pick where you want, wherever you might be quicker than the car ahead, and launch your attack. Because yeah, as you say, lots of opportunities. And if you don't do it in your first opportunity, there's another one coming up very shortly. So and also what that does is it allows for lots of racing across the entire lap. I've seen races that start at turn 1 at Monza and they don't finish until the Parabolica.
Yeah, absolutely. You can really hold it around there. I think we will see quite a bit of that today. Obviously, it's a feisty race in the 45 minutes, and I think we're going to see a lot of action. That is for sure. Of course, you saw last season that Noah Roivers set the fastest lap of the event. But he did end up taking the victory, but did receive a penalty. It was a Colin Spork that ended up winning on that day. You can see here we are live. We are in the session. We are in qualifying, and they're all about to get underway. And as much as it's a circuit you can overtake on, qualifying high is still very, very important.
Yeah, with the ground effect on these cars and the less amount, the less dirty air that's coming off of the back of them, that does mean less slipstream. The lack of DRS as well makes things a little bit more challenging in terms of straight line speed, that kind of stuff. Again, the drivers will find ways to get around this sort of stuff. That's exactly why they're in the position that they're in. But yeah, it's a unique challenge, specifically taking these cars, the Formula Pro, Formula Challenge cars, to Monza. It's a very different sort of mentality that you would come to this track at in previous years. For example, if we had come here in a single-seater a couple of years ago without ground effect, it would be a totally different situation.
We're on board with Mattia Krupi for the Jean Lacey Esports Academy car. Of course, there are quite a few of these Jean Lacey Esports Academy cars. There's Risto Capet, who finished on the podium back in Spa in the race we did the broadcast about a week ago. So the differences between Formula Challenge and Formula Pro, obviously because of the technical issues at Spa, is that Formula Pro have had 2 weeks between rounds. These have only had 6 days. That is all they've had between racing at Spa and then racing this time out of Monza, which could affect things in a slightly more interesting way, obviously coming in with slightly less practice. But let's see on board with Mattia Krupi around the circuit, going into the Rettifilio. Nice and clean, that's so important. It's better to be clean around here than it is to attack at 110% on your first lap.
Up through the gears on the run down towards the second chicane, the Della Roggia, and Mattia Krupi is going to be looking for his braking zone right around there and getting it all slowed down, climbing all over the curbs there, going a little bit too wide there. You can see some dust being kicked up. If you go just a little bit too wide at the exit of that second chicane, you will, of course, find yourself in the gravel, which, if you touch it very briefly, isn't going to be such a huge problem, but certainly in the race, if you come together at the chicane, end up in the gravel, it can end up losing you lots and lots of time. Up into top gear, 7th gear for Mattia Krupi as he enters into Ascari. Here is Risto Capet going even quicker. He's gone purple in Sector 1 now for R8G. And he was, as you say, on the podium last time out at Spa. He was a few seconds off, 6 seconds off at the end of the race was the gap between himself and first. But Risto Capet certainly going to be looking to improve on that result last time out.
Well, the pre-qualifying standings coming into this, as far as I'm aware, it was oh, actually, no, I'm not actually too sure. I think that's actually the qualifying from last round, because it was Sander Callas. I'm looking at the completely wrong thing. Mattia Krupi, either way, Sander Callas was right up there. Jordi Viers did kind of struggle a little bit in the pre-qualifying. Krupi comes across the line and sets a 24.1 then. That is the time to beat. Here's the NeedRacing.com car of Philip Dries, who finished 3rd in the last season of GT Challenge, goes across the line and up to 4th, just behind the series champion of GT Challenge in that very season as well. Risto Capit moves up into third, both behind Darius Andre and Mattia Krupi, who that time seems to be pretty strong in the opening stages, but whether it lasts, we'll have to wait and see.
Yep, Turkka Hakkinen coming to the end of his timed lap. More than 11 minutes still remaining in this qualifying session. Just got to make his way through the Parabolica or Alboreto, whatever the preferred name is these days. And let's see, where is he going to go? He's going to go up to fourth fastest. It seems to be a popular location.
Yeah, Turkka Hakkinen, of course, driving for a team that isn't Cetres Nitavellix, but still kind of works with Cetres Nitavellix. Departed the outfit, but kind of still hovers around. Hasn't really found his home in sim racing. I did allude to last time I should potentially go and look for a drive at Cova. They're very much a very Finnish team, but they don't have any races really on R Factor 2. They race elsewhere in sim racing, and maybe he could be the ambassador on this side of, I guess this side of the pond in sim racing terms, but you know, each their own. Jordi Spears, our series leader at the moment, and the GT Challenge champion of season 2, goes up into 11th position. But that's not looking so strong. I was chatting to Jordi before the round, and he was saying that he's not really feeling super comfortable around here.
Interesting. Was he feeling super comfortable coming to Spa, though? Was he expecting that win at Spa?
I don't know. He didn't answer that one to me, but he was very happy with it. I can tell you that based on some of the tweets and stuff that he was putting out. Jordi's a very talented. He's a multi-talented driver, not only when it comes to disciplines and stuff, but also as a livery designer and a photo editor. He makes better photographs than me. They do take a lot longer. But the liveries, any livery that you see of John Lacey Esports Academy, I'm pretty sure in the entirety of sim racing, but certainly here on R Factor 2, Jordi's your man who made it.
Valeriano making his way around the Parabolica for Musto GP is going to find the finish line, and it is going to be a representative time. He goes up into 9th quickest, just inside the top 10 as it stands right now. Lots of time still remaining in this qualifying session, though. Just under 10 minutes still to go. So drivers who maybe are struggling to put a time in at the moment, they don't need to fret just yet. Plenty of time on the board as Hemmingsen goes 2nd quickest, just a 10th off the provisional pole.
Yeah, and comfortably quicker than his teammate Risto Capit right now, who's only in 4th position. But he's the first kind of lap time, so it's okay to understand they might not be at 110%. Here's Daniel Stepkowski, finished in 8th position at Spa in the RSR car at the moment, driving around the Curva Grande. But this is on his first. Has he set a lap time in the session? I don't think he has. He hasn't?
No, I don't think so, not yet. But yeah, still plenty of time. Luca Dimelio is one of those drivers I think that has not set a time yet. No, Luca Dimelio has not set a time yet. So this will be his first representative lap time as he makes his way around the final corner. The sparks coming off from the Formula Challenge car as it gets pushed into the ground from that downforce, and he crosses the line at 24.9. That is a representative time just outside the top 12 as it stands right now, within 1 second.
I know Dimelio won't be particularly pleased with that lap time. He's a driver that is, I know it's a redundant statement because it's kind of, yeah, of course everyone's here to win, but you know, he's a driver that has competed very well in GT Challenge, in GT Pro, took part and then won in his very first round of GT Pro. In fact, 2 winners from that round, Jordi Spears and Luca Dimelio. That was at Imola back in season 3. Here comes Stepkowski then across the line, looking decent on timesheets, but loses out 6/10, loses out a massive wad of time in that final sector at 25.1, over a second off of pole, and all because of that final sector. I am going to hazard a very large guess that is all at Ascari, considering that all the final sector is Ascari, the run out of it down towards Parabolica, and then round there to the start finish line. It's not a particularly long sector with not much in it. Yeah, I think he's messed that one up.
Yeah, I think you're right about that one. Jimmy Nisula could only manage 20th quickest on his initial offering as we're getting into the second half of this 15-minute qualifying session now. Thomas Bach coming out of Ascari now, down towards the final corner. Looks like fairly representative times. I have to say, I'm a little bit surprised that we're seeing such gaps, but I think that's more to say about Kruping and Hemmingsen than it is about the rest of the field at the moment, because their times in the low 24s are extremely fast. And there goes Vach. Yeah, see, in the low 25s, which seems like a much more common time.
Yeah, Thomas Vac going up into, well, within a second. At the moment, he's 15th in the championship. He finished 15th at Spa, instantly beaten, though, as Martin Derlin moves himself into 11th position. So the times seem very, very tight for basically everyone. Let's call it fourth down. It seems very, very close. The top three have a significant gap over that. They have a bit of a stranglehold in the session, especially Mattia Krupi, who opened up the session with that 24.1. It seems as though that is a very, very strong time.
Yeah, it really does seem that way. And I think if we have 24 times on the board at this stage, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I mean, it's not like drivers haven't been out on track. Again, still plenty of time for drivers to get a little bit closer to the likes of Krupi and Henningsen. See if they can get that down into the low 24s, give them the best possible starting position. Because, again, with that lack of DRS, with the slightly less powerful dirty air effect, slipstream effect coming off the cars ahead as well, it is going to be more important to qualify well here at Monza than it would under circumstances in a different type of car. But because of the way the Formula Challenge car works, because of the way this season works, I would say more important for these drivers to have a good qualifying.
Well, Rory McDuff taking an absolute mountain of curb at the Rettifilio there, and having quite a lot of the 600 brake horsepower being put down more into spinning the rear wheels rather than it was to driving forwards coming out of the Rettifilio. But we'll see what the sector times are. There you go, losing 3/10 in that first sector, and here is Turka Hakkinen directly behind, looking a lot stronger in that first sector. Rory McDuff and Turka Hakkinen, who did battle it out quite a bit at Spa. The two of those have been teammates, or just mates generally in sim racing for a fair while over the last sort of 3-4 years. But Turka Hakkinen having the better first sector of the two at the moment.
Hakkinen very, very close to Missouli as well. Really does not, only 25 thousandths of a second between Hakkinen and Missouli as it stands right now. So really does not need to find a whole lot of time. And Mikel as well in 8th position, only a further 23 thousandths. So we're talking less than half of a tenth between the three of them, as Kalash now becomes the next person to join that group up at the top. Just 2.5 tenths of a second off of Krupi.
Well, Sander Kallas did have pole position back at Spa. It was by over a tenth over Jordi Zveers, who ended up starting on the front row. Risto Capit ended up starting that day in 3rd as well. So it was a great qualifying session from Sander Kallas. This one is not going as well. I mean, he's still 3rd. I mean, I'd be pretty happy with that. That is championship contention, consistency, especially when you consider that Jordi Zveers is not up there with them right now. He's a bit further down the order in 18th position. So when it comes to that, even his other champion rival in that sense, Risto Capit's only down in 6th. So trying to get yourself consistently up in the top 3, that is what's important, and that's what's going to get you the consistency which will win the championship. Only a 6-round season. It is not very long at all.
No, it really is not. Hakkinen, by the way, finding a 10th and a bit, moving himself up into the provisional top 5 as we get into less than 4 minutes remaining in this qualifying session. Krupi's out on track, so is Henningsen, so is Kalash as well. So it seems that all of the top drivers are out on track at the moment. Risto Capit in the pits as it stands right now, Missouli as well. 3.5 minutes to go, though. I would expect them to come back out one final time.
Nice lap time there from Matteo Caruso to go up into his 13th position, just 8 thousandths behind Martin Derlin, one of his teammates, or old teammates and such. I can't remember if they were teammates in John Lacey Esports Academy. Of course, they've been teammates elsewhere in sim racing for ages. Derlin driving in the number 44 because he's a massive, massive Lewis Hamilton fan. I don't think that's true, but still. Christian Mikel at the moment, 9th position at the present time. Didn't qualify well at Spa either. Actually qualified down in 14th position. At Spa, ended up working his way up inside the top 5. What are they going to be doing on strategy this afternoon as well? We're all kind of expecting some teams to try the no-stop, some teams to try the one-stop. This was a team that did try the no-stop, as a seagull massively flies in front of the screen. That was very inconvenient as Christian Mikel comes through the parabolica.
Yeah, down towards the line now for Mikel. Let's see what this time is going to be. It looked like a strong Sector 1 and Sector 2. A 24.4 is going to be good enough for 5th position. Provisionally, of course, as it stands right now. 2.5 minutes still remaining in the session. Here comes Jordi Zveers, and he is going to just get into the top 10, despite being purple in Sector 2.
Yeah, and that's his session potentially done. He might pull off to one side. He's got 2 minutes left in the session. So there's enough time. Darius Andre, though, fastest through the first sector. Currently up in 4th position. So a couple of improvements coming. Yimi Nisila up into 10th place. What does Darius Andre do for the second sector? It ends here just as we head into the braking zone. Oh, it's looking pretty good. Only now running about 5,000 slower than pole, going across the sector split, heading into the braking zone of Ascari. Now out onto the straight down towards the Parabolica. Looking like a very good time for Volante Racing right now. Of course, it's not been rebranded to Visceral, which is the next team they're partnered with. That was not a good line, though, from Darius Andre. Used a little bit too much of the grass on the left-hand side, pulled him way off the apex. Still trying to improve right now. He could get onto the front row of the grid. What is it going to be? Only 3rd. We kind of saw that. He lost an awful lot of time in that final corner, so it was to be expected.
Yeah, a couple of tenths lost. I think he was really on for challenging for pole position. Here comes Mancini out of the final corner for Musto. And it is going to be in the 24s. So 24.8 essentially is going to be good enough for 13th, which is just inside the top half of this 26-car grid. Here's Paul Lane coming through Ascari now. Looks like that's just an outlap, though. 1 minute remaining in qualifying.
Yeah, Paulo Gislana, of course, the teammate, the direct teammate of Darius Andre, who's up in 3rd, so he'll be very disappointed at the moment. Speaking of disappointment, Luca Dimelio, 22nd. Even I would expect more from the young, feisty Italian on home soil right now, heading through Ascari, now out onto the penultimate straight of the track. Looking pretty good on the lap times. If he keeps this up, if he nails the final sector, could move comfortably inside the top 10. The session is done for the likes of Christian Mikel, Turka Hakkinen, Risto Capit, Rory McDuff, Eros Masuli, now Yumi Nisila, Jordi Zvier, Stepkowski, Drive, Binsberg, and any of these lot that are in the pit lane now. Their session is over. What does Luca Dimelio do across the line? He's 22nd and halves that gap all the way up into 11th place. Nice little time there from the Italian. I still think he'd be pretty disappointed.
Yeah, that's a big improvement, but yeah, I can imagine he's probably looking for a top 10 or even better. But yeah, we are into the dying stages of this session. Ooh, there's someone going a little bit off at the background there at the exit of the second chicane. But the Volante racing car through the second Lesmo, just a bit of a twitch as he powers down towards Ascari for the final time in this qualifying session.
Just getting a little bit of slipstream from the car ahead as he comes by to lap them. That was one of the RSR cars that just flew past into the braking zone. Also got Sam McAllis directly behind. Those sector times are not looking so great for Callis, though, who's sat in 4th position right now, but still very deep in the slipstream, and this is where it really matters. So we could see some decent improvements, not only from Sam McAllis as well as Paulo Gislana, who's sat directly ahead of him. Sam McAllis then out of the final corner, one of the drivers that's competing right at the top end of this championship, a little bit tight. I think he's doing a practice pit lane entry, certainly is. So Paulo Gislana will cross the line. There is no improvement towards the end of the session, and that will be that. Mattia Krupi then on pole position ahead of Hemmingson, who's done a fantastic job there to get 2nd position. Then Darius Andre and Sam McAllis. Absolutely superb from Krupi.
Really impressive stuff. Christian Mikel, as well, as you pointed out last time, started from 14th and managed to get up into 5th position. This time, he's going to be starting from 5th. Where's he going to finish?
Yeah, +9 I don't think would work too well in this race. I don't think he can finish -4th. But you know, if he can, he'll give it a good go. And I'm sure he's a great racer. That's the thing, is that he's got a lot of experience in sim racing. Even when I was doing my first bits of endurance racing back in 2015, guess who was on the scene and guess who was fast? Of course it was Christian Mikel. And it's kind of how it goes with some of these drivers, is they're in sim racing for a long time, and some of them just peak on random years. It's just like, right, I'm going to be really good for this year, and that's exactly what Christian Mikel has done over the last 6-12 months. He's always been pretty quick, but either way, I'll stop waffling on. Mattia Krupi then on pole position here at Monza with Martin Hemmingson, Darius Andre, Sam McAllis and Christian Mikel. Turka Hakkinen and Risto Capit in 7th with Rory McDuff and Eros Pasuli. Yimi Nisila in 10th place. Rounding out that top 10. Luca Dimelio, his teammate directly behind with Jordi Zvier in 12th place, his championship leader at the moment. He'll have to work quite hard to go up from 12th. Then Stepkowski, Mirko Mancini for the Musto GD Esports, a team that was in Formula Pro last season, with Philip Dries down in 15th. That is a bit disappointing for the NeedRacing.com. Goodyear Racing in 16th with Super Venturi, Volante Racing, Jean Lacey Esports Academy finishing in 19th and 20th. Martin Durden and Matteo Caruso down there. Of course, a few other drivers finishing in the qualifying session, but it was pretty tight at the top of Mattia Krupi taking the pole.
Yeah, with Henningsen alongside him, it's going to be an interesting run down towards turn one. They were both very, very quick, obviously, in qualifying, starting from the front row. It's going to make that first chicane a little bit interesting, isn't it? Turn one at Monza is always fun for sim racers.
I mean, putting the power down is always a bit tricky. Obviously, you've got the start there. You've got an incredibly long run. It's about 600 meters from the starting grid all the way down to the braking zone of the Rettifilio, and then throwing it through there. What do we expect to see? We expect to see 2 wide. We expect to see 3 wide, and I think we might expect to see a little bit of carnage. But Formula Pro managed to get away with it for the most part, and so Formula Challenge, if they want to prove themselves for one of those seats, that's where they do it.
Yeah, no, you're right, actually. It was fairly clean on the Formula Pro side of things, and, as you said before, it's such a short season, you really need to capitalize on every opportunity to score points, so I imagine the drivers are not going to be tiptoeing their way through the first chicane, but they are going to be on high alert to make sure that they get to the end of the race and score maximum points.
I mean, like I said, it is not a long season. It's only the 6 races. Once we're done here, we'll come back in a couple of weeks' time. We'll race at the Daytona Beach. Then we go, of course, Donington Park. We go to Circuit d'Azur, and then Laguna Seca. It's not a long season at all. And so you've got to play your cards well.
Yeah, it sounds like we might be getting into the race very shortly here. It sounds like the cars are making their way to the grid, but really, really excited about this one. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly how all the drivers and the cars handle the run down towards turn one. Second chicane equally is going to be an opportunity for drivers to make up positions in the early stages of the race.
And again, to talk of strategy, we expect quite a lot of the drivers. The majority did a 1-stop last round, and then 0 stops for a couple of them. But either way, we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen in the race. It'll be fantastic. 45 minutes that they will go racing for. They're just about to line up on the grid. I'm gonna ask you very quickly, who do you think's going to win?
Oh man, I'm gonna go for Darius Andre.
Really? From third position on the grid. I'm going to go Mattia Creepy. I think John Lacey Esports Academy might have this. Martin Hemmingson, though, starting alongside. It's going to be a bit of a thrilling race, but such a long run from this point down to turn one. And as we always see in grid starts, is that they all have to breathe. They all have to level themselves. They have to bring themselves into the grid. And those starting at the front, they have a very, very long wait indeed. Either way, we'll have to see through the 45-minute race exactly what's going to happen as we put that onto the clock and we get ready to go racing in round number 2 of the Formula Challenge Series here on R Factor 2. We are underway at Monza at the Temple of Speed. A good launch from some, but not so much from others. Mattia Creepy's got to worry about Martin Hemmingson straight down the inside, who's had the better start. But look at Sander Callas. He gets straight alongside, making it 3 wide to the braking zone. He's gone over the curb a bit of time, and Mattia Creepy's gone round. Darius Andre then takes the lead. The Centros need develops of Rory McDuff also straight lines the chicane. It might have actually been Christian Mikel. Either way, that is a disaster for Mattia Creepy, and that pretty much is the commentator's curse. Sorry, lad.
Yeah, well, commentator's blessing when it comes to me and Darius Andre. I did pick him to win the race, and he's gone straight into the lead after that kerfuffle at the first chicane. Multiple cars involved in that one. Sander Kalash went up the inside into that first chicane and was able to find what looked like it was going to become the lead. But then, of course, with Mattia Krupi going around, I think that was a bit of a hindrance to Kalash, and he slipped back, and he's actually outside 1 second of Darius Andre. Both of them using a bit of push to pass on the run down towards Ascari.
Yeah, I will say from Darius Andre, that was genius driving, just basically straight line straight away. He saw the incident happening and then went, nope, I'm going over that. Will use one of his track cuts. They do have only 3 track cuts to use around here, and if they do exceed that, then they will get a drive-through penalty, but wise to use it there rather than trying to stay on the race. I don't know, by the way, how Mattia Krupi's still in 5th after being completely spun around. I think he got tapped back around, but he does have a fair amount of damage. Look at this, though, straight down the inside. Eros Masjuli getting the move done on Martin Hemmingson, who really has lost out at turn 1.
Yeah, Hemmingson is going to be really, really frustrated with this. He's going to be losing yet another position. Falls behind Mashuli. He's got lots of racing still to do, though. We don't know the fuel levels either, but plenty of side-by-side action. Here comes Mattia Krupi. He wants one of those positions back, and he's going to get that on Turkka Hakkinen. He moves himself up into 4th position at the start of lap 2.
Well, now the race has started, I can kind of let you in that a few drivers have said no stops. Definitely some no stops on the grid. I did hear that Setros Nitavelix are once again going to try the no stop strategy. I don't know about Risto Capit, but the likes of Christian Mikel, of Rory McDuff, are potentially looking to try that once again. Here is Alejandro Lopez Ajorna, speaking of Setros Nitavelix drivers. Rory McDuff dropping back a position as Lopez Ajorna is on the charge. He's moved up now into 11th position, and one of, well known to being one of the most aggressive drivers on the grid. We'll have to keep our eyes to what the Spaniard can do right now in 11th, right on the rear end of Jordi's Veers. And Jordi's not had a great drive off the second Lesmo on the run up the hill towards Ascari, but his teammate making the work done now. Mattia Krupi up into 3rd place, Christian Mikel down into 4th. Apparently that almost alludes to it definitely being a one-stop strategy from the John Lacey Esports Academy camp, but certainly looking more towards a no-stop for Christian Mikel.
That's exactly the point that I was going to bring up, just for the viewers at home, just in case if anybody's wondering about any massive pace deficits, and it's probably down to fuel level due to the way that the cars can no stop this race. They can one stop, they can two stop. There's a number of options, so they may be carrying 45 minutes worth of fuel on board. They may be carrying 20 minutes worth of fuel on board. We just don't know. We can only guess. But certainly Krupi makes another move. That's 3 overtakes in 2 laps by my count.
Yeah, a man on a mission right now. In the background, Eros Masuli getting past Turco Hacken on the exit of the Rettifilio. Now got the inside of Curva Grande ticked off. There is Lopez Ajorna ahead of Jordi's Veers, who's dropped backwards. A yellow flag out in sector 1. I can only guess that is for an instant down at the Rettifilio. Oh, speaking of which, that is a massive mistake from Jordi's Veers, straight into the rear end of Alejandro Lopez Ajorna, and that is both of those going to be requested straight back into pit lane after damage.
That is huge, and worth remembering that Zveers is the championship leader coming into this race. I know we've only had 1 race so far this season, but Zveers was holding the most points coming into this round, and Alejandro's definitely going to be feeling that one, especially coming into Ascari here, and I wonder what is going to happen, if this is going to cause any problems. Thankfully for him, the car behind also missing a front wing, but then you've got Rory McDuff just behind that. As we move on board with Eros Masuli on the run down towards Parabolica. Oh, he's got the inside line.
Yeah, Masuli going very aggressive in this race as well, same as Mattia Krupi. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Rory McDuff did lose out quite a bit there, and he's actually dropped back into 14th. So I think he might have been pushed off with Jordi's Veers and all that. Philip Dreiss has managed to get his way back through. I think Rory McDuff has had a bit more of an issue because he's now down in 15th. Spot. Lopez Ajorna into the pit lane, then Jordi's Veers will also be in the pit lane. As look at this, oh my goodness me, how do we talk our way through this? Philip Dreiss currently in 10th position, trying to fend off the charge of Lianis. Then you've got Dimelio, you've got McDuff in there, you've got Stepkowski, you've got Derlin, and you've got just about the entirety of Formula Challenge split 1, 2, 3, 4. Another front wing's been taken off as well.
Yeah, that was definitely a large chunk of bodywork, and I think you're right. I think it was the front wing coming off somebody's, and that's fairly early in the lap as well. So they're definitely going to be losing a little bit of lap time as a result of that. We're still pretty early in the race as well, too. If you can believe it, we're not even 6 minutes into this race. It feels like so much has happened already. But yeah, that's not going to be optimal. Meanwhile, up the road, by the way, I see Kalash using a little bit of push to pass, trying to close that gap up to Krupi. But yeah, it's all about this Dreiss train.
Well, there is the front wing that's been missing. It's Kostas Van Vukas who's missing that front wing. Also saw that Paul Auguste Lana, who's in 16th at the moment, went wide into the second Lesmo just in the background of who looking on. There is the switch for Eros Masuli, up now into 13th position on home soil. We'll take a look at the replays to what happened to Alejandro Lopez Ajorna. It was trying to be the switch back to the inside from Jordi's Veers. He misjudged it and went straight into the rear end of the Spaniard. We'll see it here. So easy to do that misjudgment, but I think even Jordi will know that is unfortunately on his shoulders.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is so easy to do, and anybody who's tried to pull off that type of move in an open lobby, for example, or something like that, may have had that happen exactly to them. By the way, I've just noticed Hemmingson has had a heck of a recovery up into 6th position, doing really, really well after a bit of a nightmare start for the R8G driver, but we're still looking a little bit further back. Again, this is that Dreiss train that he's leading at the moment on board with Stepkowski as we get into the second chicane. No moves being made at this stage, but still lots of cars. Oh, a bit of twitch up ahead from Dimelio. But yeah, still a lot of cars in a very, very small portion of the track.
Yeah, they're all tight. They're not quite as tightly contested as they were a few laps ago, though. So thankfully, we don't have that to deal with, because that was pretty mad. I don't think I've seen sort of 3 and 4 wide around here for a good few corners. But either way, this is Formula Challenge. It's exactly what we expect. Mattia Creepy trying to close in on Darius Andre, your race leader. You're absolutely right about Hemmingsen. He's got past his teammate in Risto Capit, the Estonian. So Hemmingsen is charging right now. He's got about a second and a half to go and catch Christian Mikel as we ride back on board with Stepkowski in the slipstream of Luca Dimelio coming down into the Parabolica at the moment. Stepkowski looks out, but he might have to worry about the American of Rory McDuff, who's in 14th position. I think McDuff might be a little bit irritated by how this race has unfolded so far, as they're out of the pit lane is Jordi Sveers. What drama straight away.
Yeah, worth remembering that Rory McDuff qualified in 8th position, so don't let his 14th position fool you there on that one. And it looks like, who was that just ahead of him? Was that Stepkowski, actually, just going a little bit into the grass under the braking for turn 1. And that is Rory McDuff just having a bit of a battle there. And managing to just about hold on to that 14th position. He may be very heavy with fuel potentially, as he's coming under attack now, and he's going to lose the position to Paul Auguslana through the second chicane there. And if he's not careful, he might lose another position. There's another car behind him. So McDuff possibly carrying some sort of damage, or just really heavy with fuel.
I think more so heavy with fuel, but I think there is definitely damage on board his Cetra Nita Velik's car, and he's got one of his old teammates again. He's battling with all his old. To be fair, they did have a lot of drivers, so it's fair enough. But it is Matteo Caruso who's trying to attack the rear end. Obviously, Paul Auguslana did manage to get through. Caruso's the next one, knocking at the door just a few tenths back. But now, of course, McDuff will have the slipstream. This is the battle, though, a bit further up. 6th and 7th on the grid is the RHG Esports presently. Martin Hemmingsen sat in that 6th position. Then it's Risto Capit, and then, of course, Turka Hakkinen in that PMK Sim Racing car, of course, sat there waiting. Race of the season 1 winner at Daytona Beach, a circuit which we head to next in the calendar, so a circuit which he'll be hoping to do quite well at. But as a driver who also is potentially trying the no-stop, did retire, I think, or maybe drop back, was a lap down in the last race of the season, so hopefully he's just trying to bounce back from all of that, really.
And this is the replay. Oh, a bit of argy-bargy there into the... Oh, and then that's gone into a slide, and that's ripped the front wing up and lifted the car up into the air as well. So, yeah, that's definitely not ideal. But thankfully, that did happen just before the pit lane, so it could have been worse. By the way, also, Christian Mikel going on the attack on Sandra Callas. I noticed Callas using the push-to-pass to defend, but Christian Mikel not needing to use the push-to-pass to keep up with him. So potentially a battle for 4th in the works. Capit, though, very close to the back of Hemmingsen as well.
Of course, any drive. This is kind of the weird thing that we have here. To clarify, they will be refueling on the pit stops if they make them. There is no required pit stop in Formula Challenge in 2022. So if they do pit, they really want to put in as little fuel as possible, because each bit of fuel you put in adds to the stationary time. Paul Auguslana making up a position now, going down into the Parabolica. So that was a nice little move there on Stepkowski for 13th position, the Volante Racing car. So that's another one ticked off. But yeah, all stationary time. Obviously, the fuel rate, I think, is something close to 9 litres a second. So it's you want to be stationary for as little time as possible. But for those that are already going for a no-stop race, they can attack as much as they want, because they already have the number. They don't have to plan that later on in the race. That's what we might see from Christian Mikel. We'll take a look at the race start, though, and that run down towards the Rettifilio for the first time. And watch out for that orange car of Sander Callas. Gets very aggressive, looking straight to the inside ear of Martin Hemmingsen. Absolutely sends it on the brakes. And who has to pay the bill right now? It was Matty Creepy, who gets sent back around by Sander Callas. That's how he's used to time, but he's definitely going to have some damage on the front right. We'll see it on board with Sander Callas. Talk us through it.
Yeah, so he gets a really good launch at the start of the race. He's picking up a little bit of a slipstream as well. He's going to look to the right-hand side. There's not really a gap, but then one kind of opens up. He goes so late on the brakes. There's just really nowhere for him to go, and he's already braking as hard as he can. So at that point, he really is just a passenger. But yeah, as you pointed out, Krupi, who got sort of half-spun, ended up getting half-spun back into the right direction, which is how he was able to manage to hold on and not lose too much time as a result of that incident. Because you rightfully pointed out at the beginning of the race, how has he done that? How has he managed to have that incident and still be as high up as he is? And now we've got our answer.
Yeah, and he is closing in on Darius Andre. I'm kind of worried about, or kind of wondering rather, about tyre selection right now, because obviously they have multiple tyres to pick from. We saw in the explainer and the car video earlier on, they can pick between the soft, mediums and the hards, and then the wet tyre. As much as it all says softs there, we did see in the replay that Hemmingson, I think, was running on the mediums, but I don't believe that's true. I think it's just because of one of those things at the start of the race. As far as we can see, everyone's running on softs, which is what we would expect. Everyone was running on the softs back at Spa, and this is a lower tyre degradation circuit than racing in the Ardennes. So we would expect everyone to be running around on that soft tyre. And as you can see here, as we look in live picture, the white walled tyre, that is a soft compound. Yellow walled is medium, and then green, for anyone who's made a catastrophic error, is the hard tyre, which you just won't see anyone use. Bit of a moment for Mr. Capet.
Yeah, Risto Capet, Mashuli as well had a bit of an incident on this lap, and I just wonder if maybe we're starting to see the initial signs of tire degradation. Now, obviously, tire degradation here at Monza isn't that bad. It could be a lot worse. There are tracks where it's a lot worse, but we may just be seeing the drivers just starting to struggle ever so slightly. It was out of the second chicane, it was out of the De La Rogia that I saw Mashuli just go a little bit wide, dip that rear wheel into the gravel. And I saw him actually use a little bit of push-to-pass to try to make up for that mistake. But, of course, the drivers, with 45 seconds of push-to-pass, that's the kind of freedom that they have with it compared to a system like DRS, which only becomes active when you're within 1 second of the car ahead. With the push-to-pass, it can be used to negate a mistake. It can be used to defend a position. It can be used to overtake a position or to take a position, as we're seeing in the case here of Luca Dimelio, who's trying really hard to get past the Volante car, but has to stay behind for the meantime.
I mean, you say working really hard to do it. I actually think, I mean, I've been teammates with Luca Dimelio to a certain degree, so I kind of know how the feisty Italian is. Young driver, super talent, absolutely incredible is Luca Dimelio, and great to see him in the satellite racing team picked up by them back in 2021. I think he would have gone for that move if he wanted to, but I think he's playing the long game here. By the way, in the background, Stepkowski is trying to keep Rory McDuff at bay, and then the two John Lacey Esports Academy cars of Jelle Binsbergen and Matteo Caruso. Binsbergen working his way up now into 16th position, and now trying to tack McDuff. One driver that McDuff hasn't been teammates on the grid, so at least there's that. Darius Andre! Oh my goodness!
I noticed he was slipping down the order. I saw Krupi go into the lead, and then I saw Mashuli go into second. But I wasn't sure what was going on, but that is going to be the end of the race for Darius Andre, my pick to win. That's unfortunate.
Commentator's curse, mate. So we can both do it. It's fine. But either way, Matty Krupi up front. Rory McDuff not happy at all with Jelle Binsbergen, potentially. Was weaving an awful lot. Let's see what happened with Darius Andre then. I think this was a solo error. He's run through Ascari. He's taken a little bit too much curve on the right. He's pushed him way too far over. And as soon as you take that third curve, you go completely airborne and into the barrier. Unfortunately, that one was quite predictable. But when you're in the car, you've got to remain committed. And that is him out of the race. So we're back on board with Rory McDuff. And it's kind of one of those things with Jelle Binsbergen. It would have been, maybe he was irritated, but also maybe he was weaving to say, I don't actually want to race you. Please just keep on the racing line. Don't try and defend fresh air right now. Just do what you're doing. Kind of hard to tell from that, but that's one of those things as a racing driver. We don't have likes or anything like that, so then there is no way to communicate with the other drivers. You just have to hope they understand what you're picking up, what you're putting down, some might say.
Yeah, there is no automotive form of sign language or anything like that. Not just yet, though. Maybe that's something that we that we need to develop. Because, weaving around like that can have multiple meanings. And, yeah, you're exactly right on hypothesizing on what those meanings might be. But, yeah, who knows? When you're the car ahead, you're probably just looking in your rearview mirror going, no idea, mate. I have just no idea what you're trying to tell me right now. I'm doing my best, but we're getting into we're getting towards the halfway point of this race. 45 minutes, so 22 and a half minutes will be the halfway point of this race, and then we'll start to see who is going to be going to the end from the start and who is potentially going to be coming into the pits. I would say at this stage, from the racing that we've seen, there are definitely cars out there that are looking to stop at a minimum of one time.
Yeah, I mean, for me, Matty Krupi and Eros Mashuli, those that are running 1 and 2, 100% a one-stop strategy from them right now. Everyone behind is a bit more of a question. The patience that we've seen from the likes of Risto Capet, from Christian Mikel, from, of course, Roy McDuff and stuff, those that actually attempted a no-stop strategy last time. I'm going to say the no-stop strategy is on the cards once more. And Risto Capet maybe his teammate Hemmingson's also in that boat, but I think Hemmingson's been a bit more aggressive as well. Kind of hard to tell. Obviously, it's one of those things we can only figure out as the race goes on. And we can only have that confirmed when people enter the pit lane because we're too stupid to work it out ourselves. But right now, it does look as though the top two definitely one stopping.
Yeah, no, I think exactly right. You could just tell, and I mentioned it earlier in the broadcast as well, and I'll repeat it again just for anybody who may have missed the start of the race. But if you are seeing a pretty large deficit from one car to the next, with considering everybody is on pretty similar tires and everything like that, more than likely it is because of fuel level and running totally different strategies. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see when the likes of Krupi and Mishuli come into the pits. I would assume it is kind of be in the next 10 minutes or so. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it typically would be around the halfway point of the race, but it's quite hard to tell. I did see that Alejandro Lopez Ayorna has been into the pit lane, and I did see in chat that from Jimmy Allison, who's quite important when it comes to running race direction and stuff, I believe has got a penalty for brake checking, which would have been in that incident with Jordi Zveers, so maybe we'll have to take ourselves back on the Jordi Zveers criticism there. Obviously, the one angle that we saw did seem as though Zveers had misdone it, but it seems as though it might have been on Lopez's shoulders.
Yeah, certainly potential. Thankfully, we are not the stewards. It is not up to us. Who is that? Stepkovsky was just making his way past. Was that a lapped car? I have to assume that it was, because yeah, he didn't look like he actually made a change of position or anything like that. Into the second chicane for Stepkovsky, running very closely to the back of Caruso. And then Binsbergen, not that far up the road, and then a bit of a gap to Dimelio. So these cars running in a little bit of a pack as it stands right now. And it'll be very interesting to see how many of them are staying out. Oh my goodness! That is somebody making a very dramatic exit.
Paul Auguste Lana, I believe it was, although no, it might not have been. It was certainly one of the Volante racing cars. Paul Auguste Lana is continuing to go around, so it certainly wasn't him. But either way, not a good day for Volante Racing. They lost Darius Andre a little bit earlier on. That'll be Alejandro Lopez Ayorna, of course it would be, who is now out of this race after just receiving a time penalty, of course, to the tune of 10 seconds. I did have that one confirmed, by the way. That was for brake checking. Jimmy Allison just confirming that one. Here goes around the outside. Martin Hemmingsson trying to make the move on Christian Mikel. He's pushed over the curb just a little bit. Oh, somehow they managed to keep going. Good effort.
Yeah, that was some very tight battling between the two of them on board with Llanos. And is he going to be able to hold on to this position? Yes, he keeps Dimelio at bay, who we were on board with at the start of that. And this is what happened to Alejandro Lopez. Just gets a little bit onto the exit curbing, the curbing at the exit of that second Lesbo there, and just pitches the car over to the right-hand side. And the barriers are never too far away at Monza, are they?
I'm not going to lie, that's a bit of a weird incident to me. I don't know if I really want to call that one, but it did seem as though it seemed a bit more intentional on the drop, because it wasn't that aggressive over the curb. And as much as the curb is serrated, it is not serrated that aggressively. It did seem as though maybe a little bit miffed with the race and blew it over the wall on the right side. It is a place where we do see them drop, but more so when they've run too far over and onto the gravel. Either way, Lopez Ayorna out of the race, Darius Andre out of the race, and Martin Hemmingsson trying to find his way past Christian Mikel. Obviously, Cetres Nita Belic's driver. Team manager Dennis Lind is watching on, so he's keeping his eye on his drivers, rightfully so.
And this is a very close battle for fourth position, and I think he's going to, yes, it's definitely close enough. He's going to find the inside line. I'm not sure if Christian Mikel just isn't interested in fighting that, or if he thinks he can defend it with the outside line, but through the first chicane, he is going to get that fourth place position from Christian Mikel. Nice, clean move, and he's going to use a little bit of push to pass just to put a bit of a gap between himself and Mikel. But Risto Capit is going to be up next, and as is Turkka Hakkinen. Both of them are right behind Mikel.
Yeah, the issue for Christian Mikel right now is if he is doing the no-stop strategy, again, there is no mandatory tyre changes, pit stops, anything like that in Formula Challenge. They pit if they want to, if they think it's faster. For Christian Mikel, if he's no-stopping, another driver who no-stopped the last round, oh my goodness me, Christian Mikel nearly doing a Paul Auguste Lana again, and Alejandro Lopez Ayorna, but either way, managed to keep it on the road. Who did no-stops last round? Well, Risto Capit did, who is directly behind him. Of course, Roy McDuff, his teammate, did. They've already said that Turka Hakkinen's working quite closely with Christian Mikel, who's working closely with Risto Capit, Martin Hemmingsen, his teammate. These all no-stoppers in that group. Again, a lot more of wiggling from Roy McDuff. He's not seeming particularly pleased out there.
No, he's really not. You can make an overtake into Ascari. It's not the easiest place. It wouldn't be my first choice of locations to overtake. By the way, I think, Eros Mashuli into the pits as we reach. This is really the halfway point of this race. And there is Risto Capit flying up to the back of Christian Mikel. He does want to defend this one. He didn't defend the first R8G car. He is going to defend the second one, though. Holds that inside line into the first chicane and manages to just hold on. And you can see all three of those cars just running a little bit twitchy. And here goes Rory McDuff. Turns out he was interested in making that overtake for 14th position, and he's finally done it. And there is Eros Mashuli coming out after his pit stop in 18th position.
Roy McDuff getting very aggressive on the exit of the Rettifilio. Masuli now, who's going to be closing right in on this, like I said, came out in 18th position. He's not very far away from this little battle and will consistently move forward. Who else will be one-stopping? If I were a betting man, I would say this entire group here, Hemmingsen, Mikel, Capit, Hakkinen, they are all no-stopping. If I were a betting man, that is where my money would be right now. I think Hemmingsen might well actually be your net race leader, potentially Santa Callis, but I'm not so sure whether he's no-stopping. But either way, it's in this group where I feel your race leader is right now. He's going to try the no-stop. It's just whether they will be towards the end of the race. The no-stop did not win at Spa. It was a one-stop victory from Jordi Sveers. Sander Callis one-stopped as well at Spa to finish second. It was Risto Capit who no-stopped his way onto the podium, who we're focused on now.
Yeah, and he wasn't that far behind. As I mentioned before, it was 6 seconds, I believe, was the deficit.
Yes.
I just saw Mattia Krupi just using a little bit of push to pass, totally in clean air, running completely by himself as it stands right now, but maybe just pushing to try and stay ahead of somebody when he comes out of the pits. He wants to make sure that he's as high up the order as possible. Here is Stepkowski looking to make an overtake, looking to defend. Who knows? It's pretty packed back here. Outside of the top 10, just outside 15th position even, and Stepkowski does manage to just about hold on to that position for now.
Yeah, certainly did. Obviously, he wasn't attacking Roy McDuff just there. He was in 14th, was more so on the defence to try and hang on to that 15th position, and certainly did so in all of that. It was trying to keep Zalagianis at bay. Matty Creek, by the way, setting or pushing the button. The reason why we'll be doing that now is because we kind of hear it all the time in motorsport subs, being hammer time and all that kind of nonsense. It is correct in this though, you know, with the fuel loads being, you're burning your fuel load through the race. If you are making a one-stop work, you're coming in and you're filling up with fuel. So theoretically speaking, for Krupi, this is the fastest his car will be all race. Right now, yes, he'll come in and get fresh tyres, but the car will be back to its basically race starting weight as they'll refill to put the litres back in the car so we can finish the race. For everyone else, though, they're kind of working through the fuel tank right now. They're getting faster and faster and faster as the race goes on. Mattia Krupi's trying to take advantage of quite a light car, close to a quali car at the moment, with maybe some slightly more worn tyres. But we've said before, the way around here is not too high.
I saw Capit getting within a couple of tenths of Christian Mikel there on the run through Carpa Grande down towards the second chicane, I believe it was. But manages to hold on to that position for the meantime. But I'm not sure for how much longer. I think Capit might be starting to get a little bit frustrated as we switch on board with the R8G driver. He's going to look to go around the outside into that second chicane. Does not manage to hold on to take the position, but he does get a much better exit. He's going to look up the inside through the first Lesbo, which is not typically an overtaking location, but has to hold on to that 5th place for the meantime. Thankfully for him, though, he's put a little gap between himself and Hakkinen, so these types of moves aren't putting him in any danger of losing that 5th place. Oh!
I mean, good effort. Oh, my goodness me. What has happened to Matteo Caruso going through the Rogier? It is a part of the circuit where we can see some solo incidents. We've already seen a couple today, but I'm not so sure Matteo Caruso is very well experienced, as we can see Sander Callis in that orange and black car leading this little group. Obviously second place at the moment, 18 seconds behind Mattia Krupi, who's leading the race right now. Then Hemmingsen, Mikel, and then this driver, Risto Capit, comfortably ahead now of Turka Hakkinen. Seems to be dropping off a little bit.
Risto Capit really seems to be driving within some limits, taking care of the tires, not taking any unnecessary risks as well. No surprise with a driver of his caliber, obviously, but certainly if Hemmingsen can pull away from Mikel here a little bit, stop giving a bit of slipstream, that would be beneficial to Capit. That would make things ever so slightly easier. And there goes Binsbergen up the inside into 10th position, but he's had to cut the chicane there, so I imagine he's probably going to have to give that position back, and he does.
Yeah, I'm sure Jimmy Allison was watching on at that one and thinking, I think not, I think not. Back off from that. And of course, all race direction keeping their eye on it. There is Matteo Carrizo, said it was going to be potentially a solo spin. But, you know, a driver with that experience, kind of expected not to be, but either way, just a light little spin. And then, unfortunately, almost Austin Powersing himself on the escape road there, which would not have been great in a car like this, which has almost zero lock. So, thankfully, he managed to get back going, but lost an awful lot of time. Back on board with Risto Kappa. There's Jelle Binsbergen nearly losing it again.
Yeah, that second Lesmo, I think, is more of a challenge than maybe we were initially giving it credit for, because it seems to be providing a good challenge for a lot of the drivers, especially with the worn tires. Risto Capit's going to find the inside line into the Parabolica. With that later braking, surely that's going to be enough to give him the position. He is up into 4th. Let's see if he can defend it on the run down towards the first chicane. No one's coming into the pits in that group. Again, we do suspect that all of these drivers are zero stopping. There goes Christian Mikel. He's going to have the inside line, actually. He didn't even use too much push to pass. He's not using any push to pass as he makes his way past Risto Capit now, and he has gotten back up into that 4th place position. And that's got to be a little frustrating for Risto Capit, I would assume. And here's Binsbergen trying to get that move that he was not able to complete on the previous lap. Again, he has to hold station.
Yeah, I mean, good little effort from Jelle Binsbergen on the previous attempt down into... Oh, a little bit of a squeeze from Christian Mikel. Risto Capit's going all the way around the outside. Super stuff between two very experienced drivers. Risto Capit still alongside. Turka Hakkinen's fancying his way through. Risto Capit, the Estonian, is at the inside going down to the Lesmo. And that is the position made to 4th place for Risto Capit right now. He's finally got past Christian Mikel and now will try and hunt down his teammate. Turka Hakkinen is right on the rear end of Mikel as well, but I think not quite close enough to try anything into a Scar, and certainly doesn't have the overspeed to try. I think you're absolutely right. You can make a move stick into here. It's just not the wisest place to give it a go. 16 minutes left to go. Matti Krupi still not making that pit stop and still pulling away from this. Of course, if he is going to make a one stop, the further he goes, the faster he is than this group, the better right now, because he might come out either right in the middle of it or with only a bit of time to work up to join them, or, hey, if he goes fast enough, maybe even ahead of them.
Risto Capit deploying push to pass to try and defend from Christian Mikel, who also deploys a bit of push to pass to try and keep up to the back of Risto Capit, and possibly just to defend from Hakkinen. Turka Hakkinen flying up to the back of him, really wants that top 5 position. He's probably going to get more and more interested in taking that spot as these minutes continue to tick down. We're 2/3 through this race already, coming up to the final third, the final 15 minutes of this race very shortly, and we do expect Mattia Krupi is going to be coming into the pits, and there is Eros Masciuli moving up into 14th position. That's Zalagianis that he's just overtaken, and here is that battle for 4th position once again. Turka Hakkinen has now dropped back ever so slightly.
Yeah, of course, that was a decent little move there from Masciuli, who's trying to work his way back up the order. He's already made his 1 required pit stop, so he is working his way forward. So, you know, obviously, you'd expect him to be a bit faster at the moment, but the thing is, he's back on the same kind of weight as everyone else. He's just got some slightly fresher tyres, so yes, the attack will work. I just don't see him getting much more than maybe even 10th spot, and that's why there's a bit of a concern for Mattia Krupi, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Here's Jelle Binsbergen closing in on Lianis once again, but still not close enough to do anything. Luca Dimelio and Rory McDuff behind. Obviously, there is a car between them in the form of Jordi Sviers, who is 1 lap down at the moment. You're championship leader and race winner of Spa.
Binsbergen in a really difficult position here with the likes of Dimelio and McDuff really not that far behind him, and really trying to make the overtake as well, try and gain positions in the closing stages of this race. The battle for 5th continues to rage on as Turka Hakkinen closes up to the back of Christian Mikel, but then breaks so early. Jelle Binsbergen, meanwhile, is going for the move once again down towards turn 1. Maybe it'll be 3rd time lucky for him, but no, actually, the 2 cars ahead are going to battle it out. They might come together. It could be an opportunity for Binsbergen here, still battling between the 2 of them as they exit the chicane, and it is an opportunity for Binsbergen. Oh, he's getting muscled off of the road as they come through the entrance of Curva Grande, and he has to slot back into that 10th place position. But here he goes. He's going to have another attempt here into the 2nd chicane.
Yeah, do not like that from Lianos, and there's Binsbergen still trying to get around the outside. Yeah, that was a little bit naughty from Lianos, just squeezing Binsbergen a fair amount when he was, to be fair, quite rightfully alongside going into Cabernet. Maybe it was a little bit of not great an overlap, but either way, he was kind of there. It was obviously the move there from Lianos that was trying to get around the outside of Philip Dryce, who was holding up this massive train. Mattia Creepy then, with 13 and 15 seconds. There you go, I just keep running numbers. 13 minutes and 10 seconds left in this race. I'll get there eventually. Pits from your race lead, doing his one and only pit stop. Where is he coming out? Here he is then rolling into his box. Sander Callas will take over the lead of this race. Hemmingsen and Capit will follow his way through. But where does Creepy come out in comparison?
He shouldn't be stationary anymore. He should be making his way down the pit lane now and finding the pit exit as well. He's coming out behind Hakkinen. He's still ahead. Nisula Binsbergen is coming into the pits for a very late pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of expected that they were going for the for that one stop. Here it is. That is alongside enough in my book, and that is... Yeah, I don't like that. I've been, pretty heavy on the on my words when it comes to making contact on a straight. And I know it's not technically a straight, but still, you're rolling around what is effectively, as near as makes a difference, a straight. You're flat out all the way around, and that kind of squeezing just isn't on. I don't think race control will look on that too fondly.
Krupi, by the way, came out just ahead of Nisula, very, very close between them, but that is absolutely crucial because right behind Nisula is Drace, and right behind Drace is an unbelievable gaggle of cars that would absolutely gobble up Krupi given the opportunity. So Krupi is going to be very, very happy to be coming out in 6th position. 13 seconds now is the gap between himself and Kalash. If Kalash is staying out, he's going to need to find, 1+ seconds per lap in order to get up to him, and that's while overtaking the likes of Hakkinen, Mikkel, Capit, and Hemmingsen, which is no easy feat.
Yes, indeed. Well, Hemmingsen, who we ride on board with right now, has a bit of a mountain to challenge to go and catch Sander Callas. One driver who we really are not sure about what's going on. We expect the no stop from Hemmingsen, we expect it from Capit, we expect it from Christian Mikkel and from Turkka Hakkinen. But what's going to happen with Sander Callas? Mattia Krupi, though, comes out into 6th spot, as you were saying, 6 seconds behind Turkka Hakkinen. I can kind of almost guarantee that we are going to see some fastest laps of the race coming in from Mattia Krupi. And he saved up his push to pass as well for this moment in the race. On board with Turkka Hakkinen, not trying to pass Christian Mikkel.
Yep, Turkka Hakkinen now into 5th position after that pit stop from Krupi, dropping him down into 6th. So Hakkinen now in that top 5 position and very close to a top 4 position, and only a couple of seconds away from what is currently a podium. And of course, if Sander Callas does come into the pits, then that would become a 2nd place position. So Turkka Hakkinen is definitely going to be properly motivated by the number of cars ahead of him and the amount of championship points ahead as well. And it is worth remembering that the championship points, as you get closer and closer to the front, there's 3 points between positions rather than 2 points. So as you start getting into 1st and 2nd and 3rd and all that kind of stuff, you get more points relative to the cars that are finishing behind you. So that's something that he's really going to be thinking about. But look at this. Hemmingsen now within 1 second of Callas. No DRS, of course. Within 1 second doesn't mean anything other than he's within 1 second and within striking distance, less than 10 minutes to go.
I think that's exactly right. It's not DRS in this, it's striking distance. And that is exactly where Hemmingsen finds himself. He's done a great job to close in, but breaking his teammate as well behind in Risto Capit. Is there a required pit stop from Hemmingsen late on in this race? Well, we'll have to wait and see. This is back on board with Roy McDuff. You can see Mashuli, a little bit 3 wide as Dryce was trying to look down the inside of Lianis. There is Mashuli picking up the position. Lianis has gone straight over and he's picked off the chicane. Roy McDuff's also gone past Dryce. Now trying to get past Eros Mashuli, going around Curva Grande. He's fully alongside and is carrying the overspeed right now. He'll be certainly committed on the brakes, maybe with a big overlap going down into the Rogier. He's going to send it in. Mashuli's trying to hang on. Rory McDuff makes a little bit of contact. Mashuli skips over the chicane, rejoins straight, potentially into the side of Dryce, but Dryce manages to clear off from that position. A dramatic couple of moments there from this entire gaggle.
Yeah, this is getting really crazy. I mean, and this was the gaggle of cars that we were enjoying so much at the beginning of the race too, when we didn't know where to look. there was so much battling going on, and this is that same group. They've kind of reconvened in the closing stages of the race to now decide. And of course, this is all for points. It's every single position is for points. So they're going to be battling it out very, very hard because this is an important one for them.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, you always want to start our season quite strong. The first broadcast race of the season, the second round of the 2022 Formula Challenge here on R Factor 2. Hemmingsen takes over the curve, going down into the Rettifilio. He's closing in half a second, but tell you someone who is closing in, it seems like every time I look at 6th place, the gap is 1 second smaller than the last time I looked at Mattia Krupi, already 2.3 seconds off of the rear end of Christian Mikel. He is flying right now with 8 minutes and 10 seconds left to go. Should roughly be around about 6 laps left in this race, round 2 of the season. Mattia Krupi wants to do it, wants to win this race, wants to make it another one-stop victory, but Sander Callas is looking to say no to that. He wants a no-stop victory, but Hemmingsen also wants to take that accolade, so I don't know which way this is going to go.
I really don't either. I could easily see any of these drivers coming out with the win. I think it's going to come down to mistakes, but Krupi continues to eat out chunks and chunks of that gap between himself and Christian Mikel, getting himself ever closer to those top 5. And surely he is going to make fairly quick work of them with that deficit, with just how much healthier those tires are. And you can see him just using a little bit of push to pass too, as well, coming out of Ascari there just in the background. And he's going to be properly quick on that new set of tires, and he can push them as hard as he wants because they will easily go to the end of the race with how short this final stint is for him.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just amazed by how, I mean, I shouldn't be that amazed. These are all very, very talented drivers, but how much battling we have at this point in the race. It's absolutely incredible. We are nearly 40 minutes into the second round of the season, and it is incredibly tight everywhere you look, with strategies all coming together. Mattia Krupi's 6th position is now going to try and take that position from Christian Mikel. This is back with the race lead, Martin Hemmingsen, right on the rear end of Sander Callas. Risto Capit, Turka Hakkinen and Christian Mikel with Krupi to worry about. You can see that gap's getting smaller and smaller as they head into the Rogier. Krupi is up into 5th.
Hakkinen using a bit of push to pass, trying to defend, I would say, based on the gap between himself and Capit. He's really not going on the attack. I think he would have just seen that Krupi has already managed to get past Christian Mikel. You can see Hakkinen using some more push to pass coming out of that second Lesgo on the run down towards Ascari. We're still looking backwards, though, from Sander Callas, who's still leading this race, but Martin Hemmingsen has been all over the back of him. I wonder how much push to pass these two cars still have remaining. You can see Hakkinen again deploying some push to pass, just trying desperately to try and keep Krupi at arm's length to see if he can get that 4th place position, maybe even turn it into a podium position, but it's going to get harder and harder as these minutes and laps tick down.
Well, everyone watching at home now can jump in, because who do you think is going to win this race? On YouTube, you've got a vote going on at the moment. Sander Callas, Martin Hemmingsen, Risto Capit in there, or someone else. Could Mattia Krupi do it? Here's Hemmingsen. He's getting very close to the rear end of Sander Callas. The battle for the race lead here at Monza, looking very close indeed. Sander Callas is able to hang on for now into the slipstream. Martin Hemmingsen, the push-to-pass wielding, though, of Sander Callas, should be able to keep Hemmingsen at bay as they head to the braking zone down at the Rogier. Is Hemmingsen going to be brave? He's been aggressive early on through this race. He's not picking this moment, though. Mattia Krupi is charging right now. He's 7/10 behind Turka Hakkinen. Really, he's only around about 5 seconds off of this race lead, and he is lapping around 1 to 2 seconds faster than this group as well. It's going to be incredibly tight on that final lap.
Yeah, 3-4 laps, something like that left, really not left to go. You can see Krupi now deploying some push to pass. Hakkinen defending with some push to pass as well in the run down towards Ascari. Krupi isn't hanging around. He'll do the overtake into Ascari if he has to, but it looks like Hakkinen is just about going to hold on for the meantime. Hemmingsen doing his best, trying to follow behind. Of course, with the ground effect on these Formula Challenge cars, it is easier to follow through the high-speed corners, such as the Parabolica, as we head into there for one of the final times. Really not many laps remaining for these front runners. Callas and Hemmingsen continuing to run very, very close. Capit, though, not really making a lot of inroads on it. I don't know if he's going to feature in the battle for the lead as we get into the final laps.
I don't think Cav is going to feature in the battle for the podium because Creepy's about to get past Turka Hacken in the braking zone down into the Rettifilio. Here's our race leader though, still Hemmingson's not able to get past Sander Callas. Creepy is now up into 4th place right now, 2 seconds back from Risto Capit. What an enthralling race we are having at the Temple of Speed. Much bigger gap from Sander Callas now. Looking backwards down the order, there's still plenty of racing going on. Here's Philip Dries trying to keep Stepkowski at bay as well, and around the outside Stepkowski's going to make light work of that, and Zalagianis also there. I think it's still Yordis Viers, certainly is, who's sat in the final position in this battle, but obviously isn't a part of that battle. He is a lap down at the moment. Philip Dries instantly coming around the outside of Stepkowski.
Yeah, Dries, remember, was leading that train of cars in the midfield that we had for so long in this race, but as unfortunately for him anyway, slipped down into 13th position after Stepkowski made that overtake into the first chicane. But Dries doing his best to try and make up positions as we get into the final stages of this race. Really not many more opportunities to try and get some extra championship points from this race. On board with Hemmingsen once again into the Parabolica. 3 minutes remaining here at Monza, and Hemmingsen running out of opportunities to try and get past Sander Callas, who has been really in control of this race for quite some time now.
Well, at the moment, Hemmingsen is leading your vote as to who's going to win this race right now. If he's going to do this move, he's got to make it very cleanly indeed. He looks down the inside, he looks to challenge, he looks to charge, and doesn't quite make it stick. With there being 2 minutes and 40 seconds left this race, I wonder if we're going to get a bonus lap. Obviously, from this point, if we were to start the final lap of this lap now, then we're looking at 2 laps to go, but we're going to be very, very tight for that 3rd lap. Here comes Hemmingsen then, around the outside of Curva Grande. He's got the inside into the Rogier. He's going to be committed onto the brakes. Hemmingsen's going for it. There's a bit of contact between the two, and Hemmingsen takes over the lead. I think Callas might have spun a little bit. He manages to get back going again. He's dropping back into the clutches of Risto Capit, but Mattia Creepy is charging now. Hemmingsen, after making that move, now that they've not lost so much time, he might well be safe for this victory. It's going to be a long 2 minutes though.
Really difficult to tell from that that angle that we had at the second chicane at the De La Rogia, kind of looking at it, we really couldn't see what was going on with Callas. We could only really see what was going on with Hemmingsen. So here is the replay, though. We're on board with Sander Callas, who, remember, was defending the position. He's going to have to go around the outside. He's also the one that ends up coming off worse in all of this. The camera faces forward now. There's the slight contact. He loses the back end. I think that's just about fair. Again, we're not the stewards. The stewards will look at any incidents that they feel need to be investigated, apply penalties if they feel that they need to be applied. But from my eyes, certainly that seems like it might have been just a racing incident.
I agree. I think Sander Callas might have turned it a little bit too early, and he's the victim of his own demise there. So I wouldn't really look too much into it. It's Mattia Creepy though, straight down the inside and onto the podium. He's properly sent that. Here is Eros Masuli then battling it out with Rory McDuff, 9th and 10th place at the moment. McDuff's trying to charge his way back, but obviously Masuli on that one-stop strategy has worked his way back up inside the top 10. McDuff's not going to let that one go. 1 minute left to go in the race here in Formula Challenge at Monza. Masuli having to worry about McDuff, who's by his way, considering that McDuff is on much more worn tyres right now. That is a super move to get back past Eros Masuli. 1.3 seconds back on Sander Callas, and Hemmingsen is hoping this is the final lap of the race. But if I were a betting man again, I think we're going for one more. I think this is the penultimate one. We'll have to keep our eye on it.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out as the battle for ninth there, with McDuff now leading. Really boiling over as it stands right now. The clock is ticking down, and I do wonder if, in fact, Hemmingsen is going to be crossing the line to the point where we have to have there goes Eros Masuli going for the move for 9th position. Is it going to be enough? Is he close enough? I'm not sure.
I don't think it is. Here we go. Here's the line. It's quite late. Martin Hemmingsen's going to cross it, and he's going for one more lap. This is going to be a long one for Hemmingsen. Callas has got to worry about Creepy, who's charging now. He's right on the rear end of Callas. This is back towards the battle for 10th. Rory McDuff's managed to build a decent enough gap to it. Zalagianis and Stepkowski. Zalagianis is going around the outside of Masuli. That one's not going to work, and now Stepkowski's going. Oh, Zalagianis is gone. Never mind. He obviously, as you've got the green painted concrete on the outside, he's just dropped it on that. And here is Mattia Creepy. If he has any aspirations of winning, this needs to be the move. He needs to get past Callas now. He sent it. He's looking. Callas is hanging on, though, and that is Mattia Creepy not through. I think that might be it. He's got the Lesmo, though, to deal with. Mattia Creepy still not able to.
Well defended from Callas there. That was incredible. Is he going to be able to do it into the second? Lesmo, though, he sticks his wheel up the inside. Light contact between the two of them, a bit of contact, and that's going to be an open invitation potentially to Hakkinen as well, who's closing up to the back of the pair of them.
Absolutely super stuff. Mattia Creepy still side by side with Sander Callas, trying to hang on for second place. Oh, Mattia Creepy's been made contact with. That's Sander Callas. Risto Capit's also trying to come through, but he thinks better off it. Turka Hakkinen also comes through now into fourth place. And Mattia Creepy, after all of that, loses out a whole heap of time right in that battle. He wasn't able to catch this man, though. Martin Hemmingsen made it stick at the right time. And Ferrari Esports on the no-stop strategy here at Monza is going to win the second round of the season. Sander Callas in second place. Risto Capit in third, then Turka Hakkinen, and then Mattia Creepy. Oh, it's so tight across the line as well. Risto Capit nearly getting Sander Callas. We'd have to see what happened there between Mattia Creepy and Sander Callas. I don't know how to pick that one. It was two drivers going very, very aggressively, though.
Yeah, and I mean, both of them obviously coming into this were in the top 10 in the last round, so they're both already thinking about the championship at this stage, with it being only six rounds total for the entire season. So, oh man, I really do feel for Krupi on that one, but we would have to see a replay in order to form any sort of solid opinion about exactly what just happened. But one thing I could say for sure, that was a hell of a race. I really enjoyed Formula Challenge at Monza. That was hugely entertaining from start to finish.
Yeah, of course, as much as we only broadcast the exhibition race back in Spa, that was hugely entertaining, and this is hugely entertaining as well. And I kind of get the feeling that we're going to see much more of this over 2022. Oh, Martin Hemmingsen getting a little bit of giving a little bit of a boff to Risto Capit across the back end of the circuit. Obviously, the two very happy having finished on the podium. Matteo Caruso then 20th position, a bit of a shame for him. Obviously had that spin going through the Roggia earlier on in the race, but for RHE, for Hemmingsen, what a driver to have picked up. What a driver he is, and what a victor in Formula Challenge.
Heck of a job. Well, what a performance. Really impressive stuff from everybody, but from especially those at the front. What a show.
Well, Martin Hemmingsen then takes the victory. Sander Callas in second place, but obviously will be under investigation courtesy of that contact with Mattia Creepy. Risto Capit in third, and then Turka Hakkinen, who just picked his way through on Mattia Creepy. They're great drive from Hakkinen, from the Finn in P&K Sim Racing, kind of driving alongside really the Cetrez Belix team. Then Mattia Creepy, who will be disappointed with fifth, but really it should have been potentially second or even just third. Then Christian Mikel, Jimmy Nisela, Luca Dimelio, Rory McDuff did get himself inside the top 10, which I think was a great effort, and then Eros Masuli. Daniel Stepkowski in 11th place with Philip Dries, Yuka-Pekka Lalu in 13th, Giannis Lianis, who was right involved in that battle with Zala Giannis as well. An incredible little fight there. Tomasz Vak in 16th place. Paul Auguste Lana, the lone Volante, left in this race after his two teammates retired, and then a whole heap of Jean Lacey Esports Academy, Jelles Binbergen, Martin Derlin, and then Matteo Caruso in 20th. Of course, a couple of drivers back behind this, the likes of Darius Andre and Alejandro Lopez Iorna for Jean Lacey Esports Academy. Also, Jordi Spears as well. So much drama in this race. I think it's been a bit of a thrill ride at the Temple of Speed.
It really has. That was incredible. I really enjoyed that. I mean, I've done a lot of sim racing commentary in my lifetime, and that was up there. I really did not know what was going to happen in that final battle. It was incredible to see the various strategies come together at the end as well too. It looked like for a little bit there, potentially, that one strategy might be a little bit faster than the other one, but towards the end there, really interesting stuff. And I have to say, Krupi probably my driver of the day, just because of the way coming through the field and making those overtakes. In the end, it didn't work out for him, unfortunately, but hugely entertaining. Really enjoyed that.
Actually, I know it's a bit of a boring one. I'm going to go with Hemmingsen after being on that first lap. Where was he? 9th place, and then still managed to work his way back up to the win. There's a lot of driver of the day contenders in all of this. Yes. I mean, when you just look through the grid, there is just so many recovery drives. The likes of Rory McDuff to get back inside that top 10. Then you've got like Christian Mikel, Takako kind of picking their way through. Great drive as well by Sander Callas on that that no stop. Yes, a bit of instant late on, but another second place finish. He will definitely be top in the standings heading into Daytona.
Yeah, exactly that. Sander is going to be looking very strong coming into it as well. Krupi should be feeling pretty good as well. Again, 2 top 10 finishes is going to be a fairly good points haul. Jordi Spears is obviously one of the big talking points again Unfortunately, really having a difficult day today after winning last time at Spa. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this has done exactly to the championship standings. But you're exactly right. I think Sandra Callas, especially, provided that he doesn't pick up any sort of penalties or anything like that, is going to be looking very strong heading into round 3.
Well, you have to follow on all relevant social medias and stuff to understand exactly what's going to be going on behind the scenes as well. And if you've kind of enjoyed this, thinking, hang on, this Formula Challenge thing seems all right. What's this R Factor 2 about? Well, we've just had Q2, which obviously started our Q2 competition season. And with that, we had a bit of a content drop. Let's take a look. Yes, indeed. There hasn't been a better time to get involved with racing here on R Factor 2 than right now, courtesy of that content drop. And if you're fancying yourself as wanting to take part in Formula Challenge, you can do so by downloading R Factor 2 and then opening it up and then going into the competition system and getting qualifying for the next round at Daytona. Of course, you did see in that content drop, there is 2 circuits in there which will be racing later on this season in the form of Laguna Seca and Donington Park, 2 great racetracks.
Yeah, really looking forward to that one. Both famous in their own right and for very different reasons, I would say, but really, really interesting tracks that I think are really going to challenge these Formula Challenge drivers, and it's going to be a totally different sort of beast compared to what we saw at Spa and Monza, for example, for the first 2 rounds.
Indeed. Well, of course, in 2 weeks' time, we'll be taking to Daytona Beach for the 3rd round of Formula Challenge. And what a round it's going to be. Daytona International Speedway, one of the more recent additions to the R Factor 2 platform. It's a great racetrack, and I'm sure we're going to see plenty of action there. I think maybe even a couple of one-stop winners in that one, because it is one of those ones that's very open for racing.
Yeah, it's going to be a very interesting, a fascinating race. Really looking forward to Daytona. It's quite an interesting track. Obviously, dealing with the banking and all that kind of stuff. It's a very different sort of thing. And it should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing how these drivers handle all of the challenges that will face them.
It's a bumpy circuit, to say the least, is the Daytona International Speedway. And if you want to see how all of that action is going to unfold, well, of course, you can join us on the 6th of June, next Monday, as Formula Pro will be taking to Daytona Beach for the 3rd round of their season before they go in to a little bit of a mid-season break. It's going to be a fantastic one. We've had a great season so far and a great season here in Formula Challenge. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.